I'm in a weird loop.
Right.
Like,
Okay. So we have started the recording. And Jivraj, you can start the session now.
Okay, okay. So if there is at any point, if you want to ask anything, just stop me over there and ask. I won't be able to look at who raised hand. So these are all the dependencies, and markdownify is to read markdowns, and then this is for splitting the text, which are from tomorrow itself, and then this is HTML to text, which I don't need probably. So now what I'm doing is I'm creating a API endpoint which, given question and image, it responds with a answer and then also the sources. Okay. Correct. Correct. So I'm using Pydantic just for the verification for the image, the question. Okay. And now let's write one function that actually answers this query that have come to us, and we'll call that function from the payload. Yeah. So for answering any question, we also need to get the uh, embeddings for image and question. So for that, I need to copy those two functions. So one is to get the embeddings. So this is function that we wrote yesterday. And then there was this rate limiting part as well, because we were embedding multiple files. That's why we needed rate limiting. But while answering, we probably won't need rate limiting. But just to keep the code same. I will copy array limit as well. This gets us the embeddings. And apart from embeddings, we also need the image description. Let me copy that code as well from here. What's here? I will just check what is the correct name of the variable that is present, because over here it is different name and over here it is different name. Just give me 1 minute. Check that.
So just to make it clear, Jivraj is just reusing the same functions that he has used yesterday when we were initially creating the embedding store. Okay, so he's using the same functions because when you send a question to your server, it has to also embed the question, right? So that you can find the similarity between the question and the RAG content. And likewise with the image, we need to convert the image to a description of the image and then create an embedding for that. So then we can find the similarity for that as well. So that's all he's doing. He's just copying those same functions, but into his answer application.
Yes. So instead of caption this image, we can make it a better converted to better form. Now this is one prompt that GPT generated, which is for answering the question. So describe the content in this image in detail, focusing on any text, objects, or okay. There might be some better prompt as well. So now we have get image description and then get embeddings as well. Now whatever question comes to us, we want to call get image description for the image, right?
Uh, Jivraj, do one thing. With the functions that you just imported in, the get embedding in the image, since you're not going to describe them anyway, just minimize those functions so that it's a little bit easier to follow what you're doing. Yeah, because those functions are the same from yesterday.
So in answer, I'm not going to use that. And all those embeddings are stored inside embeddings.npz file. So we don't need to load them as well for answering questions. This is a new function and I'm keeping it just above answer. And we need to call this function from the answer function. So this will load all the chunks and all the embeddings. So chunks is one list and embeddings is another list. Same way we saved it yesterday. So yesterday when saved, we saved it inside embed.py. Over here we saved chunks and embeddings separately. So we are loading both of them separately as well. Now we have loaded embeddings. We need to convert embeddings for the new question as well. So for that, I need to call get embeddings function. But before that, I need to get the description of the incoming image as well. And so it is expecting image path, but this image is not stored on my local machine because it is coming via base 64 string, right? That conversion also we have to handle. Image. So right now I'm assuming that it's a JPEG file, but it can be some other file as well, some WebP or some other format, PNG, that you can identify using MIME type of the image, okay, which I haven't included in my script. So whatever description I get for the image, I'm appending it to question itself. So now question have actual question and then what is there inside the question, what is there in the image as well. So both of these things I need to get embeddings for them. And this gets the similarities. It gets the most similar chunk, but instead of getting the most similar chunk, let's get first 10 chunks. Okay. So we have similarities over here. So we have loaded chunks and loaded embeddings. So we are getting indices of those which were uh, topmost. So we are getting the indices. So we have those lists, and from that list, we are getting the indices of those elements which are, if we consider cosine similarity, then they have highest similarity, and 10 of them we are considering, and we are getting their indices. And same for same indices, we are getting the chunks. Okay. Now we have got the similar chunks. Now all we need to do is we need to send response back that we need to do now. So based on the top chunks and then the question, we need to answer uh, the new question. So for that, I will create another question which generates LLM response based on question and the top chunks. It is using 2.0 Flash, which allows 30 requests per minute probably, and we can move to 2.5 as okay. So answer this particular question, and this question is that one, and then context is given over here. Just to change it, so we have system prompt and then context as well, and then question as well, and system prompt we can change. You are helpful using this prompt you can optimize. Okay, system response.text is what we want to return. And now we need to call this function from our answer function. Right now, we haven't given the source of those files with the response ID. So if I look at npz file, yes, it is not storing sources of the files. But let us see if it is able to generate response. I don't have anything that can request. Let me ask this time. I don't have any extension to request, so I'll use curl to send a request to this particular server that we have just. Can someone tell me any question from week 9 or 12 of TDS so that we can test? Hello. Aditya, are you trying to say something?
It might help to just post the URL of the repo so that people know what to look at.
A URL of the repo.
The PDS repo.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because otherwise they won't know
But
what to. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So this is URL for the repo, and particularly look at week 9 and week 12 because that is the only data that is available to us. I haven't got whole data because in yesterday's session it was taking a lot of time to get whole data. So in the meantime, I will send one test request. We don't need that. And question. And for now, I won't be sending images. Okay, let me ask about what is Repin KART algorithm.
So, are people here in this session? Because no one has suggested what question to search for, right? I mean, you guys are following what's going on, or did you not understand where we are, or you have any questions at this stage? Hello?
No, the PDSA doesn't belong. It's not our this thing, sir. Yeah, it doesn't
Sir, we are new to course. We haven't taken PDSA yet.
Okay, yeah. So, see, so Jivraj is just asking from week 9 and 12 content on PDSA. He has posted it in the chat window. What question you want to ask from there? Just something to run a test for, right?
I just
Okay,
posted a
sure.
question. I think it might
Okay.
work. You can try that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, sir.
So
I've
that will be okay
also.
if I try sending a call request to that particular job. I
Yeah.
think
So
it won't be because it's running on the local server.
I've also created a poll. If you guys can answer the poll, that will be very helpful to us. There's about nearly 60 people in the session. So please vote in the poll. You go to the right-hand bottom corner of your Gmeet and hit on meeting tools, and then you vote on the poll. That will be very helpful.
Oh, I have stopped it and I need to run it again. And it gives us this error, which is validation error. Extra input are not permitted. What is the extra input that we have here? So in this wrapper, we have just two inputs. One is question and image. And
Is
we
it
are only
permitted type?
passing question. Our type I have removed. So this is the request that I am sending. Is it because of header? I don't think so. particular form that is using wrong endpoint. The input, this was the let me first change the endpoint here. Message input should be a valid dictionary or object to extract fields. Is it because
No, you can't use a quote and a double quote again. In your curl command, you can't use the quotes. Another thing you can do is just print out the what's being received by the endpoint as soon as it reaches the function. You can see what it's receiving.
Oh, sorry, my internet got down premium phone.
I think the JSON that we are sending is in double quote. I think it should be in single quote.
Yes, it will.
I think, sir, in the curl command, the JSON that we are sending, I think it should be in single quote somewhat.
Earlier it was in single quotes. That's why I tried with double quotes.
Jivraj, what you can do is
Uh,
the input object that you're having, right? You're using a pydantic input object. Instead, just make it a
I
simple
think I will
object.
remove that. Yes,
Yeah.
I will remove that. It was this and this syntax error. Okay, let me just have a look at C2. And directly use question. Okay, instead of request, let's just use question.
I think you're trying to send a query parameter instead of actual the post body, right? I mean, that's what the function is receiving on API answer. Those are query parameters, right? Rather than a JSON body, the way you have constructed the fast API. Yeah, Lovepreet, you have a question, just you can speak.
Sir, the curl command that Jivraj is trying to construct, it's already given in the project one description in on the TDS website. So if you can just copy paste from there, it will work because it works with that
With
the
the curl
model that
command.
you're using before.
Yeah, with the curl command from the project website, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes, that
Yes,
works.
the curl command is similar. The thing is, there is some errors in my application itself.
Yeah.
The model
So
you used previously with the Pydantic, it was pretty good. I used the same model, so it worked for mine.
yes, but I don't know. At the moment, there is some problem with the Pydantic model. So I have now removed that part, and right now I'm just using these parameters. But right now, these parameters it is expecting as a query parameter. So I mean, I can debug what is problem with the Pydantic, but at the moment, I don't want to debug.
Okay. I thought there was a
But it
problem with
is
the curl.
good to use Pydantic.
Yeah. Thank you.
And see create request, and request is what I need to input. And that I think I haven't. I do the case sensitivity. Okay, that is the only where I'm using, so I need to include that as well. And then I need to use it in this.
You haven't, Jivraj, you haven't got the JSON body from it. If you look back at the GPT, you have to get the JSON body, request.json.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. And what is a validation error, which is timeout error. And that is also from Pydantic. Now, not using Pydantic.
Shivraj, did you update the class which you were using question request?
Ritvik, can you come again? I was reading at it.
You were using a class question request which had components which had this component question string, image string equals none, right? And then you were so in this last function, right, in the API call, you're doing request of type request, right? So if it is question request, it will be question request. Otherwise, the class will be of the type request, right? Because when you're doing request.json and request is a certain type, and then you're getting question and image, so it must know, right, what kind of request you need.
Anyway, this error, particular error is because of that last bit in that Gemini call. There's a, if you look at, go to the GPT, that
Yeah,
last line,
Hmm.
HTTP options, there, the HTTP options equal to HTTP options, that timeout line.
And for now, I will remove that. So that is coming from a get LLM response. It cannot be used in await expression. The answer is not a async type function, so let me wait for the response. Go and review again. Okay, let me first print what is JSON. A request JSON was never awaited. So probably here I will have to use wait. And this time it have got the question. And it have also sent the response. And it have sent some valid response. It doesn't have a source part of it, which is for identifying the source of the document, but it has sent the response. So what we asked, what is read in car algorithm? So the provided context is this. And then some code block is up here. Let us see if it is a markdown response.
Sir, one question.
Yes.
Sir, you will be asking in the same way? Or this is just an example? Because yesterday Cartoon Sir told that's just an example. We will put the YAML file and everything we will put, we'll check the test cases. If like this one is okay, it's okay.
Yes. So what we will be doing is we will be testing it in this particular format, but instead of using curl request, we'll use YAML. Okay. So YAML gives flexibilities like LLM rubrics and all those things. So that's why we'll be using this.
Sir, that's the
But
difference will be coming because in curl you have to like write everything, right?
Gaurav, can you please?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are right.
Sir, what I'm asking is that in curl, when we are writing, my test is passing in curl also, but what I'm asking is that, like YAML, we are getting like if you can, like, for example, the IITM had put 4 cases in the curl, the YAML. Okay, then what I did, like yesterday, I demonstrate, like I took the URL of my friend, I put it there, I demonstrated that one. Okay, then I run it, then it's showing okay 3 tests are passing like that YAML. So same way only you will do it, right?
Yes, that is correct. We'll use YAML to test.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, Gaurav, what he's doing is he's just testing his endpoint. His application endpoint is working properly. There's no point running the YAML file until the application is running, right? So that's what he was testing now. That the code he has just written, that there are no bugs and it's working correctly as expected. Because after it's working correctly, then we can deploy the project, and once it's deployed, then we can run the YAML test on it, right? Only then the YAML test becomes meaningful, right? So he's first testing if this project is functioning as expected.
Okay, sir. Sir, one question regarding endpoint. Like endpoints, it's just that where or actually our embeddings are hitting, right?
So endpoint means the URL which a server can communicate with, right? So if you want to communicate with your application, there is a URL. That URL, you can, if we are able to send some information to your server using that URL, that is called an endpoint. So that is what we mean by endpoint.
Okay, sir. Copy.
Right now, this whatever it have generated, it's not quite readable. So just to make it readable, I have given made the prompt a little bit more precise so that we can read it.
Now, one thing to keep in mind is when you're actually doing your project. So he has demonstrated that the retrieval is working. One thing to keep in mind for your project, however, is it needs to just respond a fairly concise answer. That's one thing. And we only need a link to the resource. Okay, it doesn't have to spit out the whole chunk to us. Okay, that's not what we are expecting it to do, right? So the responses that comes back has to be an answer, a concise answer, a reference URL. So whatever chunks you're creating, make sure that your chunks have the URL of that content as part of its as part of the markdown file, and you're retrieving the URL when you're retrieving the chunk. So I know Jibraj has not demonstrated retrieving the URL here, but along with the chunk, if you retrieve the URL out of the chunk, then you can send that back with the response that we're expecting in project. The project has to be able to send back the reference link as well as the chunk. The reference link as well as the chunk for the context part of it, right? So then the context you feed to the URL, to the OpenAI, and then OpenAI is supposed to give a concise answer with the reference.
Does each chunk needs to have that URL?
Yeah, so each chunk needs some reference location, right? Otherwise, you won't know where the chunk came from, correct?
Yes.
So when you're constructing the chunks, like yesterday we showed how to construct the chunks, right? So as part of the construction part, he showed you how to put the image description as part of the markdown file, right? Along with that, you need to also store the URL of that chunk, because each chunk will refer to some kind of post, right? And if you want to identify what post that was, part of the markdown file has to have that content, right? The URL of this markdown file, because that becomes the reference point. So remember to store it with your chunks. And when you're retrieving the chunks back, remember that you want to get the URL back out again. Otherwise, you will have no references for your chunks. So just keep that in mind.
Sir, I have a question on this topic which you just explained.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I've done is I have created a markdown file for each topic, and it has multiple posts inside. So each file will have a URL attribute on the top. I have just mentioned that on the top. Now, if I chunk it, if any of the post matches, I say it will retrieve that particular URL. Do you need the topic URL or the post URL? Which one you will check for? Because post will have.
Yeah, you will need the post URL, because see, one thread may have 140 posts on it, right?
Right.
And if you only send the URL of the main thread, that's not going to be useful because we won't know which post it's referring to.
Yeah, why I ask this question is because in the sample prompt flow, it is only checking for the topic URL, not the post URL. That's why
But it's trivial to just add the post URL, right? So
no, I used to, when I was testing initially, I used to put the post URL and the prompt was failing. So then I changed it to only topic URLs. So when you guys do the evaluation, will it be the post or will it be the topic? So based on that, I can.
Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll clarify with Anand, which is it sufficient to get just the URL of the entire thread versus the post itself. Okay, I'll clarify with him to be sure. But generally speaking, it makes more sense to have the post
Yeah,
URL
I built
itself.
it like that only. Initially, I built it like that, but when I tested for the first time, it failed because it was throwing out the full post URL instead of only the topic URL. That's why I had this out. Yeah.
You can do one more thing. You can actually be a bit more clever also. You can
I can put both.
You can put both.
Okay, I'll do that then. I'll do that. Okay.
That's a safer option. So
okay, got it.
Good question anyway. So, Tomendra, you written a question, but I didn't understand your question. What you're asking? When I paste my URL, it works for you. I don't really understand the question. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, great. Okay.
I tried to make this prompt a bit.
I want to clarify something. Like you're saying the reference link in chunk for context both should be given to like the LLM, like to the API, and then we get the response, right? Or does our API need to give the relevant answer with the reference link?
So what you will be giving to I think it have so to LLM you will be giving question and context and probably in this system prompt use a prompt that so the answer that you want to generate it should not be very long. It should be precise, concise, right? So those things should be taken care of. So the question that came and then along with that the context that those are the chunks actually. So now we have created the endpoint. Now the next step is to deploy. Right? But before that, should we take some break or should I continue with the deploy?
Yeah, we'll take a break here, Suraj. Just we'll take a 5-minute break, and if people have questions, then we can take those questions. Yeah, just Chawan, go ahead. What do you? So we're going to take a 5-minute break, but meanwhile, you can ask me some questions while Jivraj gets ready for the next step.
Okay, I will.
Sir, can I present my screen and ask question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Sir, is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Sir, here I am getting this error, sir, in this both question. But when I increase the number of responses, still I am not getting this URL. But the answer which I am getting is sir.
Your audio is breaking up a lot. I cannot actually understand what you're saying. I'm not able to understand what you're saying because your audio is breaking.
Sir, am I audible?
It's okay now, yeah. continue.
Yeah, sir, I am getting this error in YAML.
Yeah. So what that error says is it's expecting that particular URL to be present in the response.
Yes, sir. Sir, but answer which I am getting is also relevant here. It
So
is
that
taking 10.
okay, yeah. So that relevance is going to be decided by. So if it's an LLM rubric that's doing the evaluation, the LLM rubric will check if the answer is relevant or not, and so each test case in the prompt4 file, right, will, so each question, I think the first two questions or first three questions have two tests each, okay? So one is a LLM rubric test and the other one is the contains test. So you might pass one or the other, or you might pass both, or you may fail one or the other or both. So that's how it works.
So sir, I think here he has passed the content, but he has not passed the URL only. But I don't know how he is not. He has pulled the content, but I don't know how he has not pulled the URL of the same content.
So that's because it depends on how he has done the chunking, right? So when he's retrieving the chunking, maybe he hasn't stored the chunk, the URL of the chunk itself, the reference URL. So that's possibly why.
Sir, I did chunking like yes, and I have stored in price center.
Yeah. So where are your markdowns that you have stored?
Sir, this.
Yeah. So these are not individual markdowns, right? It's all one big markdown, I think, you have stored, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And typically, you should have several markdown files when you're. I mean, you could, in theory, have one single big markdown file, but then I don't know how you will chunk it carefully. You'll have to do a bit more refinement in the way you do your chunking and embedding. This is what I would say. Your ideal chunking and embedding. So, okay, once you've scraped all the data, right? The ideal method is each of your, say, for example, if it's to deal with one specific topic, right? When it comes to course content, for example, that should ideally be one markdown file, right? But that's already available from the GitHub page. So you don't even have to worry about it being separated for you because it's already logically been separated as far as course content is concerned. Now, within that, each course content, there has to be a specific URL that identifies that course content as belonging to that page, right? So that will have to be part of your markdown. So that when you do your chunking, each of your chunks also should have that reference. And then when you're retrieving the chunk, you retrieve the relevant chunk as when you do the similarity check. But also at the top of the chunk or at the bottom of the chunk, wherever you want, you store the URL reference so that when you pull the chunk back, right, when you retrieve it, you run another function that also extracts that URL to hand it off to the response function that you're creating. You understood?
Yes. So
if you,
I need to start project from beginning then because I
it just needs a modification, right? It's not so much as starting from the beginning, just some slight modification in the way you embed and do the chunkings. So once you do those modifications to it and just rerun those bits, it will become more robust. So there some tweaking is needed.
yes, sir. I have did it myself. I have not cloned the GitHub repository. So if I just clone it and just integrate my code with it, and if I run that thing, so it will be okay or not, sir?
Yeah. I mean, did you watch the first session on Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in that session, we said, right, course content, just clone the repository, right? Because that's the easiest way. So then you don't have any difficulties, right?
So I have did everything by myself. I haven't cloned them anyway.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you scraped it also, that's good, well and good. But like I said, when you're creating your data store, as it were, make sure that you have references for all the data, so that when you're retrieving the data back, you get the reference also back, and then you're able to pass that off in the answer. So then when the test is being run, it can check, okay, you've given the correct reference and your LLM has provided the correct answer.
Okay, sir.
Yes, Astitwa.
Yes, sir, I want to ask one thing. You said we have to post all our code and everything on GitHub. The way we have extracted the APIs and that Python code, and also we have to turn it into embeddings. That should also be posted on the GitHub.
Correct. Yeah, all the embeddings, everything, so that we can rebuild your application without any issues. So if, say, for example, you're deploying it on Versel, then your GitHub application has to follow the same structure as so that we can build it on Versel. So Versel has a very unique way of structuring the application, right, for it to run there. So your GitHub repo should have not only the build configuration files for Versel, it should also have the structure in place so that if we want to rebuild it on Versel, we should be able to do so. If it's on render, then it should have the all the configuration files for render and whatever other requirements are there. If it's a Dockerized container on Hugging Face, then it should have that. We should be able to reconstruct it on wherever you're.
I was asking about the JSON to markdown conversion, that code also.
Yeah, well, everything has to be there, right? So that we can recreate what you have done.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Because remember, there is, I think there's like 2 bonus points, right? If your application is a good one and we want to use it, then there's 2 bonus points for us being able to use your application with very minimal modification, right?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So at least for the sake of 10% of your, what do you call for that? Project marks. Yeah, 10% of your project mark can be a bonus, right? If you've done all these things properly, if you upload all this stuff. So it's a freebie. If you got it, why not just upload it? Right? Okay.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah. So Jivraj is back. It's now 9:15. Let's finish the rest of today's session, the deployment part, and then we will take questions at the end. Okay. Because the last part is important, right? To deploy. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, continue, Jivraj.
Okay.
So we are planning to host on 3 different places. One is Versel, another is Render, and then the third one is Hugging Face spaces. So first, let's start with the Versel. So for Versel, we need to create one Versel.json file. That I will use Carlton's repo, which he created in one of the TDS session. I guess this is it. Oh, this is a Versel of here. Okay. So we need the Versel.json, which tells that this source is under API folder. Instead of API, let me just use the current working directory, and it should be installer.py. Then we need requirements for the application. So for our application, these are the requirements. So now, okay, these embedding, this embed.py and then the other file HTML to MD, these files are not necessary. This answer.py is the file that is necessary because that file only starts the server, and that is essential for answering the question, and it have everything that is required for answering question. It have functions to get the embeddings, get the descriptions, and then generating the response. So it doesn't depend on any other Python file. Okay, that is the only
So
file.
can you
So
again
all.
explain which files are necessary?
Yeah. So once I have created the application, I only need answer.py and the npz archive, because that stores chunks as well as embeddings. So these are the two files which are important, because now I don't need all other files which we use for creating the embeddings and then HTML to markdown. These files are not required now. So, because now all it needs to do is it needs to start up a server, and apart from that, it also needs access to npz archive, because that we are using for similarity search. Okay, these are the dependencies that we need to keep in requirements.txt file. Let me also copy name of the file. Okay. So now I think we have virtualized the application, and I think we are good to deploy it on Vercel. We have requirements which have Vercel.json, and Vercel.json is correctly configured. So let's now try it out. So I don't remember what was the command for using Vercel CLI. So I will give this. So first I need to install CLI, which I have already done, and then login also I have already done. So when you do login, I think it will start, it will launch your browser, and then via that you will do. Then Vercel prod. Yes, this is the command that I was looking at. Yes, I want to deploy this, and I want to deploy it under these projects, and I don't want to link it with existing projects. And name is also fine. In which directory is your code located? It is in current working directory. Oh, I have made one mistake, which I had to, uh, inside the environment, I also need to add Gemini key. Okay. I don't know how to add that as well. Uh, or it might be from my history, I can look it up. This is the one. This value of Gemini API key. Right. I will have to paste the value. I will do that off screen. Okay. What I'm doing is I will get the API key from bash RC and I will paste it in the prompt. That- I have done that, and let me read that light. Meantime, let's have a look at Versel. Parts. Get finished and the URL. If I add API to it, says method not allowed. Is this the URL or
Yeah.
the other?
Yeah, a method is not allowed because it's a post method, right? So you can't
Mhm.
send it. You cannot send it get request.
Yes. So now I will send it via the same curl request. I'll change that. Okay. The page could not be found. In the format. That's the correct URL.
can check the log, Versel log, and see if there are any issues. There's no GET request on it at all. What about the endpoint configuration file on the Versel app? The JSON?
I changed backslash API, so I don't know if it was expecting backslash API. Is that? Oh, okay, okay. I got that.
No, yeah,
I
yeah.
think
That's yes.
it is because of this.
Yeah, the destination. Yeah. Yeah.
Now
We'll have
probably.
Yeah, it's doing
Hey, now we
yay.
have got the response. Okay, so we have managed to deploy it on Vercel. And for Vercel deployment, we just need to configure this Vercel.json file, and then you also need to add some variables to the environment. Okay, whatever variables you are using, and they use the same name inside the Python file. Okay, and apart from that, you also need requirement.txt file.
Now, one important thing about Versel to remember is Versel does not run like traditional application, right? So this if name, main, UVCon and all, it actually completely ignores. Okay, so it doesn't run like a traditional application. It doesn't even run top to bottom like a normal Python application would, right? All it will do is as soon as the endpoint is hit, it will trigger the it will start running the specific function that it has been activated. So in this case, when he has activated the endpoint for the API, it will go only to that specific function and start running that function. It will not look what was there before that function, what was there after that function, or nothing. It will do of that stuff. Unlike a traditional Python code. So just something to keep in mind when you're creating your Vercel app. Okay?
So
Can
now
you
we
please
have deployed it
pardon?
to.
Sir, can you please pardon this? I didn't understand it. I mean, like, Versal won't consider the REST files that are there present. It will only consider the file that we are working with.
Yeah. So what happens is when you trigger that endpoint, right? See, now when he sends a curl command, so when Jivraj sends a curl command, he is triggering a specific endpoint, right? And in your application, there is a location where you tell Vercel, if you get any incoming calls on this endpoint, send it to this file. So in this case, it's the answer.py file. And the particular endpoint that we have encoded for was the /API. Okay. So Vercel does not run the other things in your application. Like, when you're normally running Flask run or something like that, or even when you're doing UV run, it will actually run that block of code at the bottom there, if name, and it will launch a server, right? But Vercel does not launch a server like that. Okay, it's serverless application. So in other words, all it will do is when you hit that endpoint /API, it will go to the async function that you see here, the API answer async function, and it will run whatever is there in that function. So that is something to keep in mind. So your function, so whatever you're constructing, the application, right? You have to think that way. You have to construct your application that way in this very specific manner, because it's only going to run whatever that function tells it to run. Okay, so something to keep in mind.
If it in turns runs something that then it will run it, right?
Yeah. If that function calls another function, then that's also okay. The main difficulties you will face is if there are, like, say, for example, in a traditional application, you will have some imports coming from different places and things like that, right? It does not follow a traditional application runtime.
Yes. Got it. So like upfront and backend separate.
Yeah, so be very careful of how you construct it. You have to think like functional programming. You're triggering a function, and you should be able to run that function without any other kinds of dependencies that you would normally have. So that's why, like, the requirements file, you give it ahead of time itself, because it doesn't look at all at the top of the application. Like if this file had some import this from this, it doesn't look at any of that, right? So that's why you need the requirements file here, and then it will run only that block of code which triggers that function. So just keep all that in mind when you're constructing a Vercel app. So it's a slightly different way of programming than a normal way of programming. So I know for some of you it will be challenging to think that way because you're only used to the normal Python programming. But the reason we demonstrated Vercel first is one very big advantage of Vercel is 100% uptime, right? I mean, nearly 100%. So there is no spin up time. You saw as soon as he deployed it. Now, even tomorrow, if he sends a request to that same endpoint, as long as the application has been deployed, it immediately responds. So from a testing point of view for us, when we run an evaluation, immediately we are able to run evals on this endpoint. So if Jivraj, if you can paste that link in the chat box of your Vercel application, so you all can check it out, and also give them the curl command as well, so they can give it a try. You can ask another question as well. So from week 9 and week 12, but of course you can ask any question and see what its response is. So he's given you the Vercel application endpoint and the curl command. So you can try it out, right? So anybody in the world now theoretically can try it out. So this is what we are expecting from your application. You have to give us an endpoint that we are able to send questions to. Of course, we'll send a question and an image, so you should be able to process both things. In this particular situation, he has only sent a question. So perhaps a little bit later in this session, now that we got the question working, we can also probably send an image and see how that works. But this is the workflow for getting Vercel deployed. So remember the 3 key things. You need the Vercel.json. I've also posted the GitHub link of a working sort of Vercel demo. So you can use that as a template to construct your Vercel application. So Vercel.json, and you need the requirements.txt, and make sure that the configuration, that the environment variable is exported to your Vercel application. Okay. Don't put your API key directly in your Vercel code or in your GitHub code. Export it the way he showed you here. Okay. So that's a brief summary about how to get the Vercel application. Okay. So are there any questions before we go to the next deployment? So Ritvik, you have raised your hand. Go ahead.
So I'm actually stuck in the converting HTML to markdown thing, and I'm getting a weird error in the get image description function. So I'm having
so the encoding question, right? So you have an encoding issue, basically.
Yes.
Okay, we'll come to the end. At the end of the session, we'll come to that, and we'll have a doubt clearing session for those things as well. Okay. But
you cannot really use the run answer.py unless I have embeddings.npy, and so.
Okay, yeah, you'll have to maybe construct your application slightly differently if you're having that issue. You're saying your embeddings does not work. Your answer.py does not work unless you have something else working, right?
Yeah, like I need this embeddings, right, for the answer.py.
Yeah. You need the embeddings file. Yes.
Right. So if the embeddings will depend on the markdown folder, right? If I do not have anything in markdown, that won't really work. And the only error I'm getting is that that model does not generate content I got an unexpected keyword argument files, and that is what Jivraj used. So, and three files have also converted. So I don't know why I'm getting that error.
Okay, we'll look at that at the end. Okay,
Okay.
and you, or maybe even in the next session. Okay. Right. Any quick questions we'll take now? Otherwise, we'll go to the next deployment. So this deployment is slightly complicated. The next one is super easy, but it has one disadvantage, but that's okay. So any quick questions? So Gaurav, you raised hand. Is it a quick question? We can answer it.
Sir, that one by mistake.
Sorry?
That I raised hand by mistake. Sorry for that.
Oh, okay. Shreya, and is it a quick question or shall we continue with?
Sir, it was about chunking. No worries, we can take it later on.
Okay. Ulgazu?
I'm sorry, sir. It's a mistake. Sorry.
Okay. No worries. Yeah. Muthu?
Yeah, yes, sir. I have a doubt about this Versel itself. So I think
Okay.
it's
Yeah. Go ahead.
So yeah, I just used Versel only during one of the assignments. So for some student marks, some kind of a question. So here, requirements text should contain all the libraries I used in my sorry, the application. Is it like that or
yeah?
Like,
so whatever your answers.py, I mean, in this context, it's answer.py. Whatever libraries you're going to be using in your application, that will have to be in the requirements of
okay.
text.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. And the second question is that Jivraj sir mentioned that you have to only check in or let's say push only two files, basically this answer.py and your npz vector database. So is it all, or because yeah, there are a lot of Python files here, but is it sufficient that these two files are sufficient for Vercel to?
Yes, those two files are sufficient for Vercel. If I remove all other files, just keep answer.py, embeddings.npz, and Vercel.json. It is sufficient deployment.
And requirements.
And requirements.
But Vercel is accessing only the answer.py, right? And the answer.py will in turn access the embeddings.npz.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So one more question is that while working with like Jivraj used bash rc for the variables that APIs keys. So can we not use .env file?
You
No,
can use that, but
yeah, but it's a very bad idea because what will happen is when you push to Vercel, right, that will become visible, right, and you don't want that to be visible. So the best thing to do is export the variable to Vercel. So that way it's protected.
So over here, whole code is visible. That's what Cartoon was.
Sir,
All these
one question about your deployment, if you don't mind. Hello?
Yes.
Like you
Yes,
deployed something, okay, then you made some changes in your GitHub. Hello? After
for
deployment.
deploying something, you have to make any changes to GitHub. Is that what you're asking?
No. After deployment, to make some changes in the GitHub.
Yeah, you can make changes in GitHub. Then it will automatically you can not automatically, you can rebuild your Vercel and it will.
We have to rebuild, right?
Yeah, there is a rebuild function available. Yeah.
Yeah, that means again we have to deploy it, right?
Yeah. So there are two ways. There is an automated method also, but it's better to go to the website and make sure that the updated one has been read.
That's the thing. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
So can you, tell me once more about how should I put my env file or keys for the Vercel?
So there is a command you use. See if you can look on. Actually, Jivraj, can you paste the command into the chat window? So, yes. Basically, you have to use this command: Vercel environment add, and then put whatever key you want and send it to production. So that
Sir,
what
there
happens is.
one more. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Go ahead.
What happens is?
Yeah. So what happens is, whatever your key is in your current environment, right? when you export it into your current environment. That will then be taken to Versel's environment and it will store it securely in there.
So there
And
is
it will
one
not be
more way
visible.
of yes, sir, yes, sir. There is one more way of deploying on Vercel, that is through GitHub. So in that case, can we? There is a secret secure keys for GitHub also. There is one setting in the GitHub where you can store the keys that won't be visible to the others. Will that be okay? When you put the
You'll have
keys
to
there
test
in
it.
this different.
You'll have to test and see. I haven't tried that method.
Okay.
You are going
this
through
is
the GitHub way, then you will have to configure the environment variables over here. So this is
Yes,
the
sir, yes, sir,
GitHub's way,
right, yeah,
okay?
right.
So over
Yes, sir,
here
yes,
you
sir.
can configure inside
I was
Vercel.
talking about here only that will these environment variables will be visible or not?
No, these environment variables won't be visible.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
okay. Lovepreet, you got a quick question?
Yes, sir. But for that, I need to share the screen. It's regarding the course content URLs.
Okay, we'll get that towards the end of the session. Okay. We'll move to the next deployment aspect. Okay, render. Now we'll show how to do with render. So render, the main advantage of render is it works exactly the same as on your local machine. So if you have created Python applications before, and if you have created this project on your local machine using your normal Pythonic way of doing things, you have tested it, it works, the endpoint works, everything works, then you don't have to do any more changes. So in that sense, render is super easy for deployment. It's as if exactly the same as your local machine. So we'll show you now how to do deployment with render. So there is one disadvantage of render, which is after a period of inactivity, it will go into an inactive state. And then when you send a request to the endpoint, it has to again turn it on, so to speak. And that takes some time, depending on how complex your code is. So the more libraries you have, the more complex your code is, the build aspect of it, then the more longer it will take to run. Typically, we found that it will take about 1 minute to launch a very lightweight application like this project. So what we'll do is in testing, for those of you who have one render, we'll send 3 pings to your server. So the first ping we'll send and it will spin up your render application. After 60 seconds, we'll send one more. If it's still not awake after 60 seconds, we'll send a third one. So by 120 seconds, it should come up. So I would recommend you to test your deployment on render. Let it become inactive after 15 minutes or so. And then test and see, does it come back alive after, before 120 seconds. If it does, then well and good. If not, then you might have to do some optimization. So that's the one downside of render. The upside, of course, is the super easiness to deploy. And the third thing I want to mention is there is one more disadvantage, but for your use case, it is not a problem, which is its compute power is very low. Okay. But it won't matter in this. Yeah.
Sir, after this part, are we going to cover also the testing also? Testing
Yes.
and validation part.
Yeah, we will try and we'll do that as soon as because render is very easy to deploy. It'll hardly take us 5 minutes to deploy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir. Deploy.
Okay. So Galton, for
can you give the curl command you will listen?
Sorry, Ritik, can you repeat?
It's okay. I got it from the command section. I wanted the curl command.
Oh, all right. So, Galton, for deploying it to render, I will need to push it to GitHub because render doesn't allow you to use CLI. They don't have something.
Yeah, push to GitHub. I think,
me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I just tried and deploying the app to Versel, and there are some issues that I'm facing. My app is running perfectly on the local system, but when I'm pasting it has been deployed successfully to Versel as well. But when I'm pasting that URL, there is a problem. It is not
Yeah.
showing
So
correct.
yeah. So we'll take that at the end of the session. Okay.
All right, sir.
Okay. So Jivraj is just going to push the application now to GitHub, which all of you should do anyway. And then from there, we will post it on Render.
So now I'm using only these two files because these are the clip to or required files. I don't want any other file than these two. Okay. I should have added one commit message.
You don't need the markdowns?
I don't need that because everything is stored inside NPZ.
Embeddings.
All
Yeah,
those
okay.
chunks and embeddings are here.
Yes. Yeah, correct.
So
Yeah,
I don't need anything else. But why it is taking that much time to upload and put it? So this embeddings file is just 173 kilobytes. Okay, now it have uploaded to GitHub. Student recipe, but still it's taking time to one render recipe.
just go via render.com instead of.
Can someone try if render dashboard is down or I don't, or if it is only me? Or Kalkan, if can you try if it is problematic?
Yeah, I'm checking it right now. Actually. Yeah, I think it's not available at the moment. I think because I'm also not able to get in.
Oh,
Okay,
it's
so
working for me.
Okay,
Okay,
it might.
then probably you can show the deployment.
Yeah.
Okay. Because this particular repo is public, so you can fork it and deploy it.
Okay. Can you share me the GitHub link for that repo?
So Muthu, can we deploy on same application two platforms? You can, but the problem is the URLs will be different, right? So unless you give us a URL that then forwards it to the whichever platform you want it to point to, there is no point in deploying to two platforms. Just deploy to one of them, whichever one you find better.
Okay, sir.
So render is working fine.
Yeah, because both of us are on IITM campus, it might be something, some issue for our end over here from our network might be some difficulty.
So should I guide this one or like how should we do it?
Yes, that is correct. You need to select website. So we for a second because we don't have requirements.txt. Oh, wait. We don't need requirement.txt. Can you go back to render? Because now we will be using UV. So in pip install, instead of requirement.txt, just use UV or pip install UV in build command.
And one more thing is the region that you're using, right? We don't want a region that's far away, right? The lag time will be a lot. So use Singapore, I think. We'll be able to, that will be much closer. Yeah, Singapore. That's, you have to.
The thing is because I think I already using the origin US West in my existing project.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This one you can deploy on Singapore. So it doesn't make any difference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because it says no existing services in this one.
Correct. That's because you haven't deployed anything on there yet.
Oh, okay.
So in the startup command, actually UV run answer.py. Inside answer.py, I need to change port number because Vercel by default uses a specific port for deploying the application.
So UV run answer.py. So what should be the port number then?
So just wait, I will change code in the GitHub.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just
Meanwhile,
port
you can
number I will
choose. Meanwhile, you can change the selected server, which is you want to select free. No, down. So as you can see, the resources for free is very less. It's 0.1 CPU, so it's not a lot. But for this application, it doesn't matter because it's a very lightweight application. All it's one single endpoint, receiving 10 questions, and then sending it off to the LLM. So it's not a very difficult or heavy application. So that's why for this render works, the free tier works.
Okay, I have configured port number and now it should work.
Yeah. And
yeah,
So should I just run UV run answer.py?
Yes.
Okay. So
and you need the environment variable also.
Okay. So you guys using what kind of API?
Okay, using Google API.
Okay. So I don't have that.
Yeah, just grab a Google API key, right? It's free.
For Gemini?
Yeah. If you go to AI Studio, Google AI Studio, I think it's there. So this part you can probably stop sharing your screen and
Okay, got it. Okay, all right.
stop sharing your screen and just load the correct API key. Make sure you're using the correct API key name, like from the repo, because it has to. Yeah. So Jivraj has given the API key name. So make sure that your environment variable is labeled Google underscore API underscore key.
Okay.
So as you all can see, it's very straightforward to deploy on render. Just you have to give the normal commands you would normally give in your local machine. So in this case, he just put the pip install UV because UV will get all the dependencies anyway. And then the next command that we all run from the prompt is what? Just UV run the application file name, right? And you give the environment key, of course, which he's doing right now. These three components, if you put in there, that's it. You launch it and it is done. So it is that simple to run a render. Basically, it's like running it on your local machine.
So the environment variable name is Google underscore API underscore key, right?
Yeah, correct.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
I tried using the Google key also. I'm getting the same error, sir. API error 401 unauthorized.
Okay, we'll have a look afterwards. Okay, as soon as this
So
is.
I filled the environment name and here is the API key, and then I'm just gonna deploy the web service.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna copy this link and share with you guys.
Yeah. So it's not finished deploying it. So it will build
Yeah,
everything. So this will take some time. So you can see the logs are just like how you would see it on your system. Like, you know, you will start getting all the things that are required and it will start doing the build and everything. So this part takes about a minute or so. Yeah, so service is live, it's saying. So yeah, so we can.
I'm just gonna copy this.
Lovely. I have pasted one curl command. Can you use that in test?
Okay.
Oh, there is extra message below that. You have copied that message as well. Can you test by replacing that message? Remove that. Did you copied one extra?
Oh,
Yes.
this one. Okay. So
Host name.
I just need to make it a
You are
single line
not in
command.
WSL.
That's okay.
You need to use WSL, not command prompt.
It works on my system. Make this call command a single line. Yes, so I'm getting.
Yeah, there's.
Let's try this again.
Maybe ask it to configure curl so that it can be used from command prompt in Windows.
Yeah, for Windows. CMD.
Okay, yeah, it's working now. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it got a 200 okay. If you look at the log there.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So if we see now, yeah. So it's working, right? Yeah, fantastic. So the workflow again, if you can just go back to the render deployment page, is just
Here I got the question line. The curl command.
yeah, yeah. So I hope you guys understood how the deployment was made, right? You just go to render and you create a new project. And in fact, if you can just demo it for us one more time, just show how it is done.
So just let's go. Just Google search the render.com and just go to dashboard. Over here it's new, and go to the web service. Over here, you can click public GitHub, or if you have already account with the created the account with the GitHub. So like I have these repos, you can select one of those repos, or like if it's the external repository, you can just click paste here the link for the repo. Let's say I'll copy again Jira's repo and paste it over here. I say connect. It's gonna start connecting, and then just you have to select what will be the build command. So as Yuvraj said, he used a UV here instead of the requirements.txt, and here he runs it by UV run answer.py. And over here, select free, and we have to put the environment variables over here with the values, and then deploy the service.
Great, thanks. That's fantastic. Thank you. So it was. You guys can see how simple render deployment is, right? It's very, very straightforward. It's as if you're running it on your local machine. So you don't have to do any modifications to your code to make it to work, right? If it works on your local machine, it will work on render. So that's render. Okay. So someone had a question, right? Yeah, go ahead, stop. Thanks. Okay, so someone had a question, right? Some
Sir,
error or
I used Gemini key.
Yeah, you wanted to share your screen or something, right? To see what it is.
It's still giving me 401 error.
Okay, can you show what? Can you show your screen what exactly happened? Because we don't really. I mean, just a 401 is not enough for us to understand what the issue is, right? We don't know what exactly is happening. So unless you share what you are doing, we won't know.
So it's giving me this error.
Incorrect API key provided. Okay, so two things you need to configure with prompt4. You're using Gemini key, right?
Yes, sir. I used it. I got
But you have to. But you have to also configure the URL of the where the client is. So whatever Gemini client is, you also have to configure that in prompt4 as well. So it's not sufficient just to change the key. You have to change the.
I changed the provider also, sir. Google/Gemini Pro.
Okay. Because that's the but it says here platform. It says OpenAI. If you look at it on your error, right?
Yes, that's the problem, sir. Despite using Google Gemini key, it's giving me API error, OpenAI error.
So that means your prompt4 has not been correctly configured.
Oh.
Your provider, whatever you're using, what's your YAML file?
YAML, I mean, I changed it, sir, actually. But
Yeah,
I
can you show
used
us?
this one. Is it visible, sir?
Yeah. So
I use the export Gemini key also function in the environment. It accepted it. After that, it's giving me OpenAI error. I changed the URL also.
Yeah. So LLM rubric. I'm just checking.
That I think that that URL should be your endpoint URL, not the Gemini's URL. That's one mistake.
That
Yeah.
up there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one mistake. But I don't think Gemini has been configured yet. You have to add it actually. It's not how this is how you do it. I think that video which Carlton actually showed it, referred that day actually shows you how to do that. How to configure the LLMs.
Okay. So should I use my localhost link?
You can also use ChatGPT. It will actually do that for you. It's very easier. You can do that.
And remember that URL up there is actually your endpoint URL. Yeah?
Yes, that's the big one. Yeah.
This one, right?
Yeah, that should be your local host, basically, 8000. If you're testing on your local host.
Okay. Okay, sir. I'll try it.
Yeah. And the other thing I was going to mention was, if you go to PromptFoo's website, right, they have very good documentation there on how to configure the various aspects of PromptFoo. So if you are using a different provider other than, because by default, PromptFoo actually uses OpenAI by default. So if you use the assertion type LLM, then that's what it's going to use. So you have to actually configure PromptFoo in order for it to use another GPT. So I'll send you the link here, so you have access to that information. Okay, so in this link, if you go a bit further down, and it says overriding LLM grader, and over there it gives you some commands that you can use to change the grader. And it says by default it uses GPT 4.1 2025 04 14 for grading. So you can override that, and it tells you how to do it using the CLI. So you have to just select the right. Right. Okay. Okay. Any other questions, Ritvik?
So I was having an error in creating the embeddings. It is not creating properly.
Okay.
Just share the. I think this one is the right window. So. Are you able to see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just focus on this. Yeah, so this, when I'm trying to create, just a second. It should give an error. Yeah, it got an expected keyword file or argument files. Now it did it for week one, it did it for this, it did it for this, but then still it is giving this files error. Now the files error apparently is supposed to be used. But it is supposed to be files, right?
One thing you might want to do is put some print statements and things of that sort to help you with debugging where the error actually is coming through from. So,
any suggestion on where I should put here?
You go see where the first error came through. Like you can stop the and just go to the top.
See, models.generate.content. Right? Models generate content. Why is it saying MOD?
Because that's a object.
Okay.
So model dot generate.
Models will generate content and this contents files. So it
Keyword. Okay.
unexpected
So
keyword.
okay. Yeah. So what it's saying is that files keyword it for some reason does not accept that argument.
Yeah, but then when I do file, it will say it does not accept file. So I'm in a bind now.
No. What you can look up Gemini's. No. You can look up Gemini's because this is using Gemini, right? Yeah. So look up their documentation and see what keywords they use there for creating the converting image to text. Different models of theirs allow different keywords. So it varies slightly from model to model. Not all models of theirs work the same way. So just check and see the documentation on that. Basically, that keyword, that files keyword, it does not accept it. That's what it's saying. So you'll have to go to, because that's what we do. When we encounter an error like this, right? It means that whatever it is expecting is not correct.
So what did Jivraj use? Did he use OpenAI?
You can check on. No. We used Gemini only, but we had to. If you remember his session, he had to go to Google's documentation to check what the correct keywords were, because they vary from model to model and they vary from provider to provider. So the construction is not exactly the same each time for everyone.
It's really difficult to follow the video recording to actually copy the code.
Yeah. Okay. So just go. That's what I mean. No, just go to Google AI. Sorry, Gemini's documentation. They have good documentation on there,
They
and just
have
find.
C++, Java, Node.js code samples for generating text from an image, and really have this weird thing with constant. Okay, you are not able to see that, right? Let me just. Are you able to see this?
Generate text from.
Yes.
Right. And then you have something like this.
So it
Yeah,
was
this
not
is
generate text from image. It was understanding the image. Generate text from image. It would be not appropriate for this.
But we are wanting description from the image, right? So text embedding, huh? Or no, not text embedding.
Try searching Gen AI image understanding.
Okay.
I mean, not here on the main Google app.
Okay.
Jivraj, what did you use for your?
Yeah, I used Gemini image understanding.
Uh,
Is the
Actually,
prompt.
what you need to do in contents only directly write my file and write the caption this image.
Okay, let me just. So.
Yeah. So here they have Python code, right? You can see here what they have done. This is what we use.
Yeah, this is what I was saying.
Okay. So if you use this, it will work. I mean, you can change the prompt obviously to whatever is appropriate, but this is how you would send the request.
Okay, I'll just test this out.
Yeah. This should work because this is directly from their application. So this is
What now?
it's a different.
You need to remove from 38 to 44. You need to paste.
Okay, 38 to 44.
Yeah,
This.
paste the code.
Okay. Nice.
Remove from 38 to 44, 42. Yeah, retry.
Now what is that?
Response dot error. So that object has no attribute called error. So that you have if response dot error. That's where the next bit
Okay.
is.
So this thing which I was testing is itself giving error.
Yeah, yeah.
You can check the documentation. What are the attributes available?
Yeah. But that first bit is now working, right? So you'll have to just play around with it. Okay. So we'll take any other doubts. So you're okay, right? Now you can manage, right?
I'll just test this out. If this works, then
Yeah, it will work. Don't worry.
Sir, I have a
Just
doubt, right?
yeah.
So I'm like,
So
it's about.
Shreya is next. So Shreya is next in the list.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have a small doubt regarding chunking. I have
Yeah.
URLs in my markdown, and if I follow, like, if I do normal chunking, there is a possibility that URL will break down in between. So, there is embedding.npz. We can follow the same format. So, same format.
Yeah. I mean, see, chunking is an art. Okay, you'll have to figure out a way to do it that works well for your use case. That's the bottom line. So you'll have to think of what's a good way to break down chunks, because you're right. Sometimes it may cut a URL in half, right? But this is where I said, if you remember, when you're doing chunks, make sure that your chunks have a few lines of the previous chunk when creating the next chunk. So in case that situation happens, then at least you don't have that situation that it's breaking down. Another way of doing it is making sure that, for example, one markdown file contains an entire post, for example, right? So, and maybe at the top of the markdown file, you can keep the reference URL. So that's one possibility of doing
Okay, so in that way, the top line will be one chunk, and then the text will be chunked into like small
Yeah.
parts.
So it's an art, yeah. So that's what
Yeah,
that
yeah, I
is.
understand.
That is the skill then of how you break down the data logically so it works out so that the performance is very good. So that's something you have to work with. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay, lovely. Yes, please.
Hello. So I have a question about the post content. So over here, I scraped this data, but let's say I go to the deployment. So when I go to the deployment, the URL I'm getting is ../. But in the YML file, the URL is plain without ../. Both URL works fine, point to the same thing. But right now, what I did is I adapted to the YML file and did the stripping part in the URL, so it matches the YML file. So I wanted to know your suggestions. So should I keep this ../,
Yeah,
or
don't
no?
don't keep the dot because both point to the same. They both finally resolve to the same location. So don't keep the dot. Just keep the normal without the dot.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir. Akbar, you're not audible. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Suyash, yes, please.
Sir, one final doubt.
Yeah.
I changed my YAML file. It's still
Yeah.
giving me the same.
Error. Okay. So what we'll do now is then in that case after
Hello.
yeah, 1 second, but just 1 second. What we'll do is as soon as we finish Akbar's doubt, we'll now show how to do the testing part of YAML file. Okay, how to configure it correctly,
Okay.
and then you'll be able to know what the issue might be with yours. Okay, and then if you're still having problems, we will look at yours as well. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Akbar, yes. Go ahead.
Sir, where have we done prompt engineering? I'm like, is it not relevant to the project, or you have not shown it? We have to do it on ourselves.
So prompt engineering is very, very relevant. It will impact the performance. We have not done any demos of prompt engineering because it is again it's an art, right? So it is
Yes.
something you have to come up with good prompts. Now one big tip I can give you is one of the best devices to use for prompt engineering is to use the LLM itself. Ask the LLM to create a good prompt. Okay. Explain to the LLM what you're trying to achieve and ask it, I want a prompt to be used for achieving this thing. Please give a prompt to use for this mod.
Got it.
And it'll construct some nice, good, detailed prompt. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Just like I have a prompt engineer for my chat GPT.
Yeah. So that's what. So you can even put as context for it, maybe, one of the pages we have for good prompt engineering practices. Maybe you could give that whole thing as the context and say, construct me a good prompt using good prompt engineering practices. This is what I'm trying to achieve. Please give me a good prompt for this problem. So that you could try that.
Anything else left, sir? I mean, like, is there anything else we can do in this project, or just the prompt
Yeah.
engineering?
So yeah, I mean, the other things are whatever we have shown so far, right? How to construct from front to from beginning to end. So now what we'll do is we'll do the prompt YAML file. That's the last bit left,
Thank you,
so
sir.
that people can test their projects. Okay, so and configure it correctly because a lot of people make mistakes when configuring the prompt file. So we'll do that. Okay, Jivraj, you can go ahead and demonstrate.
Should I demonstrate case deployment or usage of YAML file?
We'll do the YAML file first because Hugging Face maybe we can do to next session or something.
Okay, all right.
Also, I used a Gemini key, sir.
Does converting HTML to markdown take a lot of time?
SQL to HTML to markdown. For images, it might take time because there are images that's why it might take time.
Okay, the later weeks are taking time, but it is happening.
So for getting image description, it will take some time. Yes. We download the
Yuvraj, you're not audible if you're speaking.
I have replaced it with Versel URL.
You're, is it only for me or is Yuvraj audible to everyone else?
Previously,
Sir,
no,
no,
sir.
sir.
Okay, Yuvraj, can you just start from the beginning? Because there was no audio really. We couldn't hear anything. Okay. All right. So meanwhile, other doubts we can take. So. So we have done the deployments. Tomorrow, what we'll do is we'll show the Hugging Face Docker version. The reason we're showing this is because this is becoming an increasingly popular way to do things. And so that's why we'll show how to do this. It's very it's very performant because a lot of people who are deploying to Hugging Face obviously are deploying actual models, and so there's a lot of GPU compute and all that sort of thing that people are using. Of course, we don't need GPU compute, but it's worth knowing how to do this. So we'll demonstrate that tomorrow. Another advantage is it's Dockerized, right? So your application is fully self-contained and can be deployed anywhere in the world on any platform. So we'll show how to do that. And we'll complete before tonight finishes. We'll show you how to test the application using prompt. You're ready, Jivraj?
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. Okay. Thanks. My computer is still lagging, but I don't know what. But I think it's not that big lag, so we can manage. Is my screen visible to you?
No, sir. No, not yet. Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. So I have got the prompt YAML file from the project one page. Since it's not a TDS, so what we have done is we have TDS library. So these test cases will definitely fail on discourse data. But what I want to test is if we are able to, should I create new test cases, or I mean, what I'm thinking is if it doesn't get any 401 error from the OpenAI side, or if there is no error because of LLM usage, if LLM rubric is working fine, then because from discourse that is the most popular problem. because students are facing problems with configuring LLM. Right? So should I change these questions or should I keep the questions same, but
Sir,
just make sure that there is no
for me,
error
it's
from
not
LLM?
about the question. I'm getting. Hello? Sir, can I speak?
Yeah, I lost you.
Sir,
Yes, I lost you. Can you please
I have one question. When we deploy on Vercel, aren't we pushing all the markdown files to Vercel as well?
hello, Ritik sir.
Yeah. Some network they are issue they are facing. Soon they will join.
Oh, I was facing issue with configuring YAML file actually.
Yeah, the same thing Jivraj will soon demonstrate.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Kritik, can I ask you one question?
Asking question to Ritik, sir. Ritik, right?
Yeah, what is the issue? There is some network issue, I think, in IITM. So Jivraj sir and Carlton sir is there. Okay, so there is some network issue in the IITM campus they are facing. So just wait a minute. Some people are saying something.
Sir, excuse me, I got a question, sir. Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Sir, I'm in my project in very initial stage. I had just converted both the data sources, that discourse and that this thing into MD markdown files. And thereafter, what should I do, sir? I should combine them both to chunk and embed them. Is it what I should do?
You have created in the database, like we have gone into database, right? So
Yeah.
you have store in the NPX database, and that is why we are not uploading the markdown file, because all the text file and the embeddings are there in the NPX database. So when somebody queries anything, that query had we didn't pass directly to the ChatGPT or OpenAI. Okay, we create a we first take the query and retrieve the relevant chunk of text from that NPX thing, and that chunks and along with that that text and the query we am I audible?
No, yeah, just now. Yeah. Earlier you were disconnected.
Yeah. So that data is passed on, and that is how the things work. So this is the RAG. RAG means we based on the query means. Have you seen? No, there is some PDF work. So no, just suppose that you want to ask a question from graded assignment 1. So when in a dispute you write that I want the graded assignment 1 answer. So what we will do? We first go to the graded, means as a TA or instructor, we go to the graded assignment and see the questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that exactly is the RAG system, and that exactly is the NPX database is doing. We take the query and we go to the our markdowns, means in the NPX database, and take out the relevant chunk.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so there is some network issue. So
could you kindly tell me how I embed a chunk and embed the two files, the two data files which are in markdown?
yeah, so that is why the embeddings we create. No, have you watched the yesterday session?
Yeah, yesterday, because it was in the fag end, that that audio was not very clear, so I couldn't understand much.
Jivraj, are you able to present the screen to show the prompt, or we should wrap up? Okay, so I think there is a heavy network issue. The chunking is done already in the yesterday. Okay, so you need to watch